911, what is your emergency? Oh my God, please, I need help. My boyfriend, he's not breathing. Okay, ma'am, stay on the line. Tell me exactly what happened. We were drinking and he got into a suitcase. It was a game. I thought he could get out. He got into a suitcase? Is he inside it right now? No, I opened it. He's out, but he's not moving. He's ice cold. I think he's gone. Ma'am, is he breathing? Is he responding in any way? No, nothing. Please, send someone. Please, just hurry.
It was a quiet morning in Winter Park, Florida, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary until that frantic call shook the dispatcher to the core. The woman's name was Sarah Boone, and what she said next didn't make sense. She claimed it was an accident, a game of hide and seek gone horribly wrong. But behind that calm voice was a nightmarish truth, one that would soon be exposed. To outsiders, Sarah Boone seemed like any other 40-something woman. She was a substitute teacher, quiet, with a tidy home and a polite smile. But inside her home, behind closed doors, was a different story. Sarah had a history of volatile relationships, and her boyfriend, Jorge Torres Jr., wasn't a stranger to police either. They had been together for years, off and on, always fighting, always making up. Neighbors said they heard yelling often, but no one expected murder. When paramedics arrived, they found Jorge lying lifeless next to a large blue suitcase. Sarah repeated her story. They were drinking, laughing, playing hide and seek. Jorge crawled into the suitcase, and she accidentally forgot about him. Hours later, she found him dead. The officers looked around. No signs of struggle, no blood, but something felt off. Then they found Sarah's cell phone. On Sarah's phone, detectives found 2 horrifying videos she had recorded the night before. In them, Jorge is trapped inside the suitcase, screaming for air. "Sarah, I can't breathe!" Her voice in the background is chillingly cold. "That's what you do to me when you choke me. You should probably shut up," he pleads. She laughs. Then the video ends. Not just an accident, this was something much darker. Confronted with the videos, Sarah went quiet. She tried to explain, "We were drinking. I didn't mean it. I fell asleep." But police weren't buying it. She never called 911 until the next day. The suitcase was zipped shut. The videos showed premeditation, mockery, and something that felt a lot like revenge. Now, Sarah Boone wasn't just a grieving girlfriend. She was a murder suspect. And what would follow was a legal roller coaster like no other. As investigators dug deeper, inconsistencies began to spill from Sarah's statement like cracks in glass. She claimed she fell asleep on the couch while Jorge was still zipped inside the suitcase, but her phone told another story. The videos were recorded after midnight, yet the 911 call didn't come until after 1 p.m. the next day. That's over 12 hours later. Officers pressed her, "Why didn't you open the suitcase when you woke up?" Sarah's reply? "I thought he was still sleeping. I didn't hear anything." Cold, detached, calculated. They weren't buying it, and neither was the public. When the medical examiner finally released Jorge Torres Jr.'s autopsy report, it was grim. He had blunt force injuries to his head, neck, and torso, bruises, scratches, signs of asphyxiation. Not only had he suffocated inside the suitcase, he had likely tried to fight his way out. His fingernails were broken. His skin had cuts from trying to force the zipper open. This wasn't peaceful. This wasn't an accident. This was a slow, terrifying death. One that someone watched and filmed. Friends and family began to come forward. Sarah and Jorge weren't just a troubled couple. They were toxic. Fights that ended with bruises. Police reports going back years, domestic violence calls, drunken arguments, mutual arrests. One officer described it best. They both hurt each other, but this time one of them didn't walk away. Jorge wasn't perfect, but what Sarah did was beyond retaliation. She didn't call for help. She didn't unzip that suitcase. She just watched. After days of interviews, detectives had enough. Sarah Boone was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. As officers led her to the car, news cameras captured the moment. She looked blank, emotionless, no tears, no apology, just silence. Inside the interrogation room, her calm demeanor cracked only once. when asked why she filmed Jorge's suffering. "I didn't think he would actually die, but he did, and her cell phone was her witness." When the prosecution revealed the videos in court, the entire room froze. The audio was gut-wrenching. Jorge begging, gasping for air. Sarah taunting him, "This is what it feels like when you cheat on me." The judge's face turned pale. The jury looked away. This wasn't a tragic accident caught on tape. This was torture. A slow, cruel death, documented by the killer herself. Sarah didn't just zip the suitcase. She recorded it. She weaponized it. And now the world was watching. Even as the evidence piled up, Sarah Boone remained disturbingly composed. In every court hearing, every media appearance, she kept the same blank face. No tears, no regret, just stillness. Reporters noted her posture, stiff, chin raised slightly, as if this whole thing was an inconvenience. She claimed she loved Jorge, that it was a game gone wrong. But the footage, the bruises, the silence while he suffocated, it told a different story. She wasn't panicked. She was in control. Sarah's lawyers knew the truth was damning, so they took a different approach. Paint Jorge as the abuser. They told the court this was a battered woman pushed too far, that Sarah had endured years of emotional torment, and that the videos, they were taken out of context. The suitcase, they said, was a twisted form of self-defense, not murder. But prosecutors weren't having it. This isn't a case of self-defense, it's a case of vengeance. And the jury knew it too. Because while Jorge had a past, only one person zipped him inside that suitcase. Only one person filmed him begging to live. The case exploded across the internet. TikToks, Twitter threads, YouTube documentaries. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. A grown man stuffed into a suitcase by his girlfriend and left to die? It sounded like a horror movie, except it was real. What struck everyone most wasn't just the brutality, it was how calm Sarah was. No screaming, no panic, just quiet malice. It was the kind of story that made people check their partners twice, because monsters don't always look like monsters. When Sarah Boone took the stand, the room went silent. Her voice trembled at times, but never broke. She said she was devastated by Jorge's death, that it was the biggest mistake of her life, that she was sorry.
But prosecutors pointed to the videos again and again. Does this sound like a woman in fear? Does this look like an accident? Each answer was met with uncomfortable silence. Some jurors looked away. Others stared straight at her, searching for guilt. They never found it. In the end, it wasn't Sarah's words that sealed her fate. It was her actions. Her phone, her laughter, her delay in calling for help. A man had begged for mercy. And instead of opening that suitcase, she pressed record. That was her crime. And the jury knew it. As the verdict approached, the courtroom was tense. One life was already lost, and the other was about to change forever. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned to the courtroom. Sarah Boone stood motionless, her hands folded, eyes blank. The courtroom fell into silence as the judge read the decision. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder. There was no reaction, no gasp, no outburst. Sarah didn't cry. She didn't beg. She simply nodded, as if she'd been expecting it all along. But the weight of that moment was crushing. The room exhaled,
Justice had been served, but no one was celebrating. Because deep down, everyone knew this never had to happen. Sarah Boone was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She now spends her days behind concrete walls, far from the home she once kept spotless. There are no suitcases in her cell, no wine bottles, no laughter, just silence. She told a reporter once, "I miss him. I miss Jorge every day." But the world wasn't ready to forgive. Because Jorge's family still lives with the pain. His son, just a child, will grow up with photos instead of memories, and a father's voice that faded inside a suitcase. At the sentencing, Jorge's sister stood up and spoke. Her voice cracked. "You took him from us. Slowly, cruelly, like he didn't matter." His mother sat in the front row, clutching a photo of her son. She couldn't look at Sarah, because how do you look into the your child die, and did nothing? They didn't want revenge. They wanted remembrance. And above all, they wanted peace. But peace is hard. When your brother's last words were cries for help. The Sarah Boone case became more than just another headline. It was a symbol of what abuse can become when ignored, of how toxic love can rot from the inside, of how someone smiling at dinner can be capable of something monstrous behind closed doors. Neighbors still drive past her old house in Winter Park. The suitcase is gone, the wine bottles are gone, but the stain remains, and it always will. Because true evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like a game. What do you think? Was Sarah Boone a victim herself? Or a cold-blooded killer who used love as a weapon? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe stories like this need to be told, not just for views, but for truth, like, share, and subscribe. Because behind every quiet neighborhood, behind every smiling face, there could be a story waiting to be uncovered. And sometimes, that story ends in a suitcase.